When you enchant a sword in Minecraft, you get 3 choices. Do you want Sharpness 5, Smite 5, or Bane of Arthropods 5? But the big question is, which one is the best? Obviously, it's not going to be Bane of Arthropods 5, so let's discuss which enchantment is better for your sword, Sharpness 5 or Smite 5. To find out which enchantment will be best, I've got a few tests to go through. And there's also a few rules. For testing, I'm going to be using a Netherite sword on Java Edition. We'll talk about Bedrock Edition in a bit. But first, let's explain what these 2 enchantments actually do. Adding Sharpness 5 to your Netherite sword increases the amount of damage that it does. This is the same with Smite 5, although Smite 5 only does increase damage to undead mobs. Now, an undead mob is a mob such as a zombie or a skeleton. Mainly, they'll burn in the day. There are some exceptions to that though, like the husk of a zombified piglin. But undead mobs are often regarded as the most annoying mobs to deal with in Minecraft. Now straight away, if we use an anvil, applying Smite 5 onto a Netherite sword actually costs the same as applying a Sharpness 5 book onto your Netherite sword. But overall, which one will be better? Now if it's my personal opinion, my vote goes to Smite 5. I just think it's so much more useful. In fact, I've been using it for over 2 years within my 2008 Minecraft hardcore world. But let's do some tests to see if it is really the best enchantment to use. Now first of all, let's do the hostile mob test, starting with all of the zombie variants. So I'm going to spawn 1 zombie in, and I'm going to get out my Sharpness 5 sword, hit it, and hit it again, and it takes 2 shots to be killed with a Sharpness 5 sword without critical hits. Now let's try that again with a Smite 5 sword, and it takes 1 shot. Similarly, if I use a Sharpness 5 sword and use crits, it takes 2 hits, and a Smite 5 sword will only take 1 hit. And this is actually the same if you attack a zombie villager, or a zombified piglin, or a husk, or a drowned. So for killing every zombie variant, Smite 5 is the best choice. Now let's test out all of the skeleton variants. But before that, make sure to subscribe, as I want to see how many subscribers I can be on by the end of the year. So if I spawn in 1 skeleton, get out my Sharpness 5 sword and hit it twice with my sword, it will die. If I spawn it in again and hit it once with Smite 5, it will die in 1 shot. The same results occur if you use a crit. And once again, this will be the same if I hit it with a skeleton, see that took 2 hits with a Sharpness 5 sword, or 1 crit with a Smite 5 sword. And this will also be the same with the bogged or the stray. Other than zombies and skeletons, there are actually a few more undead mobs that exist within Minecraft. One of them being the Phantom. With a Sharpness 5 sword, it takes 2 critical hits. If I spawn one in again and use a Smite 5 sword, it takes 1 critical hit. This will be the same result if I just use a regular sweeping attack as well. So obviously for undead mobs, Smite 5 is your best choice. I'm quite curious. This is a full leather stray. Can I one-shot it with my Smite 5 Netherite sword? Wow, I actually can. Yeah, for undead mobs, definitely use Smite 5. Next up, I want to take a look at some of the other hostile mobs within Minecraft. First of all, the most iconic Minecraft mob, the Creeper. With a Sharpness 5 sword, if I attack it without critting, it takes 2 hits to be killed. If I use a Smite 5 sword, it actually takes 3 hits to be killed. But if I do crits with a Sharpness 5 sword, it still takes 2 hits. With a Smite 5 sword, it also takes 2 hits. So if you use critical hits against creepers, it actually doesn't matter whether you use Sharpness or Smite. Now, with a spider, if I use a regular hit with a Sharpness 5 sword, it takes 2 hits. And with a Smite 5 sword, it also takes 2 hits. And once again, this will be the same with crit. 2 hits and 2 hits. Killing spiders is the only reason why you would want to use a Bane of Arthropods sword. Although that does it in 1 shot, whereas you could just do it in 2 shots with either a Sharpness 5 or a Smite 5 sword. Or there is actually another way to one-shot a spider, but we'll go through that a little bit later on. And remember, I want to look through Bedrock Edition in a bit to see which enchantment will be better on that version of Minecraft. Next up, we've got a couple more hostile mobs, the Silverfish. With a Sharpness 5 sword, if I hit it without critting, it's a 1-shot. If I use a Smite 5 sword, it's also a 1-shot. This will obviously be the same with a crit. Now, with an Endermite, Sharpness 5 sword is a 1-shot. Smite 5 sword is also a 1-shot. So it really doesn't matter which enchantment you use against a Silverfish or an Endermite. Although, to be honest, I don't really know how often you would encounter those mobs. Next up, the Piglin. With a Sharpness 5 sword, it takes 2 hits. And with a Smite 5 sword, it takes 2 crits again. Now, without critting, if I spawn a Piglin in, it takes 2 hits with a Sharpness 5 sword. And with a Smite 5 sword, it takes 3 hits. But if you're critting a Piglin, it actually doesn't really matter which sword you use. They both take 2 hits. So for some of Minecraft's hostile mobs, they will take 2 hits regardless if you use a Sharpness 5 or a SMITE 5 sword. Or they'll just be one shot with a SMITE 5 or a Sharpness 5 sword. So I feel like this is one of the main issues between Sharpness 5 and SMITE 5. They both basically do the same things, although SMITE 5 is actually currently winning because it can one-shot every undead mob. Now, killing hostile mobs isn't the only thing you use your swords for, as you'll also occasionally be killing passive mobs. With a Sharpness 5 sword on a cow, it gets 1 shot. Using a SMITE 5 sword without critting, it actually takes 2 hits. Now if we swap that to critting, Sharpness 5 obviously one-shots it, but a SMITE 5 sword also one-shots a cow. And all of these results are actually the same for the other passive mobs in Minecraft. But for some reason, if you don't want to crit, a Sharpness 5 sword is better. But let's be honest, yes, you may kill a few passive mobs in your world, but you'll be killing way more hostile mobs. Now I want to look through and test some of the more dangerous mobs within Minecraft. And yes, we have covered some hostile mobs already, but these ones are really annoying to deal with. Because first of all, we've got the Pillager. With a Sharpness 5 sword without crits, it takes 3 hits. With a SMITE 5 sword without crits, it also takes 3 hits. With a Vindicator, Sharpness 5 without crits takes 3 hits, which will be the same with a SMITE 5 sword. Oh wait, SMITE 5 actually takes 4 hits. Now for an Evoker, Sharpness 5 without a crit will take 3 hits, and SMITE 5 without crits will take 3 hits. And for a Witch, which again we're going to be doing without crits at first, Sharpness 5 takes 3 hits, SMITE 5 takes 4 hits. So without a critical hit, using a Sharpness 5 will be so much better for the Illagers and Witches within Minecraft. But what about with crits? Well, for a Pillager, Sharpness 5 takes 2 hits, SMITE 5 actually takes 3 hits. Vindicators, Sharpness 5, 2 hits, SMITE 5, 3 hits. Evoker, 2 hits with Sharpness 5, and 3 hits with SMITE 5. And finally with the Witch, Sharpness 5 takes 2 hits, SMITE 5 takes 3 crits. So if you're doing a raid in Minecraft, I definitely recommend using Sharpness over SMITE. And for a final test with raid mobs, I'm going to do a Ravager with crits with a Sharpness 5 sword. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 crits with a Sharpness 5 sword. With SMITE 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it takes 9 hits with a SMITE 5 sword compared to 8 hits with a Sharpness 5 sword. So if you fight a load of raids in Minecraft, Sharpness 5 is the obvious choice for you. Although I guess using a bow would be just as good, if not better, because then you can fight from range and won't need to be hit by any of the mobs. But that's not the question we're trying to answer today. So far, for killing undead mobs, SMITE 5 is better. For regular hostile mobs, it actually doesn't matter between the two that you use, especially if you use critical hit. And for raid mobs, definitely use Sharpness 5 over SMITE 5. But overall, which Minecraft enchantment is better, SMITE 5 or Sharpness 5? And for that, I've got an answer. If you want to one-shot the most amount of mobs possible with your sword, I recommend using SMITE 5 because you'll be able to one-shot every single undead mob. On top of that, you'll also be able to one-shot loads of different passive mobs like cows or sheep, as you just need to do 1 crit with a SMITE 5 or Sharpness 5 sword. Now arguably the SMITE 5 sword is just as good as well if I spawn in 2 creepers. It takes 2 hits to one-shot it with a Sharpness 5 sword, even with crits, and with a SMITE 5 sword, it also takes 2 hits. And this once again will be the same with a spider. So if you're just playing casual Minecraft or hardcore, I recommend using the SMITE 5 sword, as you'll be able to one-shot all of the hostile mobs, as well as 2-shot creepers and spiders, which you'll also have to do with a Sharpness 5 sword anyway. Now obviously there are occasions where Sharpness 5 is better, for example fighting raids. But there is actually another weapon within Minecraft that you can enchant with either Sharpness or SMITE. And that is the Netherite Axe. In Minecraft Java Edition, if you want to one-shot the most amount of mobs possible, use a SMITE 5 Netherite Sword and a Sharpness 5 Netherite Axe. As with a Sharpness 5 Netherite Axe, you're actually able to, with a crit, one-shot a spider or a piglin, which you can't do with a Sharpness 5 sword. So in Minecraft Java Edition, if you want to one-shot the most amount of mobs possible, use a Netherite SMITE 5 sword and a Netherite Sharpness 5 axe. But obviously you can also enchant a sword with Sharpness 5 if you do really want to, especially if you do raids. I would recommend it in that case. But in Minecraft Hardcore, definitely use SMITE 5 and a Sharpness 5 axe. That's how I've managed to survive over 2,000 days. And obviously at the end of the day, this is more of an opinion, although no, it's based on fact, so maybe it is an opinion. SMITE 5 is objectively better in Minecraft Java Edition than Sharpness 5. And if you still don't believe me, just use the SMITE 5 sword and find out for yourself. But I do want to take a look now at Minecraft Bedrock Edition to see which enchantment will be better. But one more reminder before I do that, make sure to subscribe. I'm now on Minecraft Bedrock Edition and it's time to see which enchantment is better. Before we do it, who designed this creative inventory on Bedrock Edition? It's so annoying. Like, it's not even alphabetical. Like, the zombies are supposed to be all the way down here, but the bolt's here for some reason. Maybe it's added in, like, order of which mobs are added last, maybe? I don't know. It's just really confusing. Where's this skeleton egg? There it is. Alright, so it's now time to do this test. I'll spawn 2 zombies in. Oh, we're on peaceful mode. That's probably why. There we go. We're now on hard difficulty. I'll spawn 2 zombies in with a Sharpness 5 sword. It actually one-shots a zombie. And obviously a SMITE 5 sword will do the same. With skeleton, a Sharpness 5 sword one-shot. And obviously SMITE 5 one-shot. We'll try with creepers. Now, Sharpness 5 actually surprisingly one-shots a creeper. Will SMITE 5 though? No, it doesn't look like it will actually. And with a spider, Sharpness 5 one-shots a spider, but SMITE 5 doesn't. So, straight away, it's obvious to tell that on Minecraft Bedrock Edition, Sharpness 5 is a better enchantment than SMITE 5 is. But if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments down below which enchantment you prefer to use in Minecraft. Personally, SMITE 5 on Java Edition is so much better than Sharpness 5. As we've now seen with all of this evidence. Now, before I see any comments relating to PvP, make sure to watch the entire video, as obviously Sharpness 5 will be better for PvP. SMITE 5 only affects hostile mobs, but it is much better in survival, single player Minecraft. But if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to subscribe.